There's a common misconception that if you dwell on the negative, you will end up manifesting it. And this couldn't be further from the truth because what happens when we avoid the dark parts of ourselves and of reality is not that it goes away, because it can't go away, because it's an integral, natural part of ourselves and of reality. Rather, it finds a way to make itself known. It cries out for attention. It leaks out in unconscious ways. Because here's the truth: we are composed of light and dark. And the dark, unknown, repressed, shamed, feared parts of ourselves want to be heard. They are deep within us. And as I explained in the unconscious and subconscious video that I made, essentially, if something is starting to make itself known, it means it's ready for you to work it out, because the unconscious is the part of the mind that is completely unknown. The conscious is the part of the mind that is completely known. The subconscious is kind of like the peer mediator between the unconscious and the conscious. When it starts to poke its head up, that means it's ready to work the problem out. If we avoid understanding, acknowledging, working with this part of ourselves, it doesn't go away. It feels hurt. It cries out for attention, and it blocks us from other deep aspects, right? So, and this is the biggest reason, I would say, actually, both reasons are very important. I don't know why I just did a piece. Both reasons are very important, okay? That shadow work is the path to understanding yourself and to self discovery and living a more aligned and fulfilled life. Okay. The first reason is because you are denying an aspect of yourself, and that doesn't feel good. It's this like separating, pulling, desperate energy. It does not feel good to avoid that part of yourself. It feels, once you get past the shame conditioning and the toxic positivity conditioning, it actually feels really good, juicy, cathartic, aligned, delicious to embrace your shadow. But the other reason, aside from denying yourself a part of yourself, is because the part of ourself that our shadow is in is also the part of ourself that every other deeper discovery lies in, right? Because I I don't want to say it's in the same place, but if you want to develop your psychic abilities, develop your intuition, have deeper levels of self discovery, discover your passions, discover what fulfills you. If you want to communicate with spirit, if you want to deepen basically any understanding about yourself, you have to get into a meditative state. And what also happens in the meditative state is the subconscious starts to speak to you, the shadow, the repressed parts of you start to speak to you. And I have found this time and time again. There's no way getting around it because it's the same exact place, it's the same exact mental state. If we are avoiding and blocking our subconscious, our shadow aspects of ourself, we cannot receive anything else. We cannot receive deeper self discovery. We are basically, what it feels like for me time and time again is that when I have a shadow that wants to be expressed, understood, and listened to and heard, right? Like it wants me to sit with it and understand it. But I'm not ready to. I feel ashamed. I push it down. I push, push, push. No, thank you. Go somewhere else. I don't want to deal with you. Then during those periods, not only do I experience this heavy, dense, desperate energy, this clinging to something else that is not my experience, like clinging to some outside positive experience that is not what is going on right now. Not only does it just make my energy funky and heavy, it makes it so that I'm no longer receiving psychic information. It's harder for me to communicate with the spirits that I communicate with. It is harder for me to trust my intuition, to listen to my intuition. Essentially, it's harder for me to get in tune with what I want, what would fulfill me, what's good for me. Essentially, when I am blocking myself from getting in touch with my shadow and listening to my shadow, all aspects of deeper self discovery shut down because it's in the same place. So my mind is avoiding the shadow, then it's also avoiding everything else that's in that deeper self reflection state. And if you're trying to do work where you go deeper into self reflection and understanding and spirituality, I can almost guarantee you that if you're not willing to sit with your shadow and your shadow wants to talk to you, you will not be able to get deeper. You will get stuck. If you're not willing to sit with that part of yourself, the undiscovered parts of yourself, you'll end up becoming stagnant. And what I noticed for myself and for others is that oftentimes when people are extremely stubborn about accepting the undiscovered parts of themselves, they will end up taking on all these biases and making projections. It ends up being people with like what we tend to refer to as like ego problems, people who are making these like bold claims and speaking with unwavering authority about what's right and wrong tend to be, it's because they're avoiding their shadow, because they can't go any further into self-discovery and spirituality because they're blocking their shadow. They refuse to accept their shadow, so they end up making these very like black and white statements about the world and reality, and like it is 100% tailored to making excuses to fit so that their own shadow and their own ego projections don't hurt. Now, on the flip side, the better I get at allowing and going with the flow of shadow work, meaning that, like, when it's time to do shadow work, when my subconscious alerts me, like, hey, there's something that needs to be worked on, and I sit with it and I process it and I flow with it, the better I get at doing that, the flowier my entire life gets. So the more I surrender to when my shadow wants to be heard, integrated, accepted, worked with, the more the rest of my life gets better. The more space I have, the more light I am energetically, the more I can hear my own intuition, my passions, my, spirit, all this other stuff. The more I allow the shadow to flow when it wants to flow, the more the light is also recepted and like accepted and flowing in my life.